3, 4.
Clare Edwards. The next Notorious concert has a spectacularly unwieldy title. Why?
Well, it does. It's called The Sound of Memory, Dead Bodies, Unicycling Policemen and a Lot of Laughter, which comes and is inspired by the central bit of music we're performing. From Born to Cornwall, it's called. It's a piece we commissioned in 2003 from, as people will know him now, Gurdon Thomas, who was then called Ian Chapman, and in our choir, he was one of our tenors, but also a talented composer. So, as we often try and utilise the skills of people in the choir, we asked Ian if he'd write us 2 or 3 pieces, and to get the words to take memories from members of the choir and involve them as well in the process, so it wasn't just that he goes away and comes back with some music. Being Gurdon, he took lots of different ideas from people and wrote us 7 songs instead of 2, 3 or 4. So we've got half an hour's worth of music there, which we've been singing in parts since it was first commissioned over 10 years ago.
This says something about the choir itself. The choir's now 17 years old, and you founded it with mates, with friends to start with. Yep. So there's a core of people who have been in that choir since, what, on average
1997,
their
and then
20s maybe, and now they're in their 40s.
That's right. There's a bunch of us who started it in our early 20s who are still around in our early 40s. There's another bunch of people who've been in it 10 or 15 of those years, or 5 or 6. It's a long-standing thing for a lot of people, and we've had quite an influx of new people recently as well. So we wanted to involve them in that process. So we've asked Ian to write another piece involving their memories as well.
They are stories of being in your 20s and 30s. The story about going up Kilimanjaro, you don't do that in your dotage, you don't do that as a teenager, you do that in your 20s and 30s.
Yeah. I mean, it's full of brilliant stories. The first movement is based around the fact that the year before he wrote the piece, 3 of us, and again, it's very much the age we were at, 3 of us had babies in the same year, very close together. All of a sudden there were 3 pregnant people in the choir. We thought there was something in the water. So he's written this piece, which is quite experimental actually, which talks about being born and that shock of being born and the comfort of being inside your mum and all this kind of stuff. And it's quite experimental, quite cutting edge. That is also part of the commission we made. We said, Notorious sings lots of different kinds of music back to back. That's what we do. It's one of our things. I'm shameless about putting a bit of classical music next to a bit of pop music or a bit of folk music or whatever. The choir seemed to enjoy that variety. So we said to Ian, right, could you write these 2, 3 or 4 pieces, which became 7, in a different style, representing different styles the choir perform. So obviously there's a couple in there, the one around 4 of us finding a dead body on a beach once, which was where the dead body bit comes from. And that's really quite harrowing, actually, and brilliantly written. He also, of course, knew the choir really well, so he's written it so Notorious really can sing these songs completely from the heart. It's they're challenging, but they're not so challenging we're going to fall apart and not make it happen and feel unhappy about the performances. They're all really good to sing. Then there's the Irish Malady, which is in a sort of folk song kind of essence. There's the one at the end which tells stories of our parties we used to have post-choir concerts when we were very much DIY choir back then, you know, buying bottles of wine from the supermarket as cheaply as we could and selling them a couple of pound a glass, and then we'd have a crisis at the end of the night because all the cheapest stuff was never sold. So we'd just take it back to the party and the treasurer would open the box and have donations into the money box for the choir, and people would buy these bottles of wine and feel obliged to drink them. So it's a real variety from childhood memories through to adult memories. I was very, very keen to revisit the piece because we haven't done for a very long time. So this concert evolved because we said, well, what can go with this? What do memories evoke? And memories evoke happy, sad feelings, and sometimes both at the same time. So this concert is split into 3/3. We've got the first one, laying down the carpet with Gurdon's music. which I'm over the moon that we're singing again. And it's so nice to introduce it to new members of the choir who weren't around 10 years ago to learn it, and to watch them just enjoy it as much. There's something about a solid piece of writing that you never bore of it, and it's universally popular. The second third of our concert around sad music and sad feelings. So we've got in there Allegri's Miserere, a little bit of Monteverdi, we've got Shenandoah, which is an American folk tune. We go through the whole range of emotions in that, and we're also doing Paranoid Android, which is a Notorious classic. So we do our best Tom York impressions in that one. And then we thought we'd better leave people in a better frame of mind before they leave the concert. So the final third is about happy music, an excuse to do a little bit of Pharrell Williams, of course. But we've got Bobby McFerrin in there, we've got some Eric Whittaker, which is faith, love, life, hope. I always get that the wrong way around. But that's an amazingly uplifting piece of classical music, right next to pop stuff and jazz stuff. So this is one of those cross-cutting themes that allows us to do folk, classical, pop next to each other, and original music that's written for the choir all in one concert. The thing about a Notorious concert is that if we are having a great time, then hopefully the audience will come with us. People can enjoy it, people can get to it without any prior knowledge. And choral singing in particular is such a wonderful thing. I mean, last night we all got round the piano and sang Happy, and I just looked round the room and everyone was smiling. And, you know, I think, right, I've done my job now. We want that to be translated to the audience.
But this is interesting, because part of the satisfaction for me in being in the choir is discovering the structure of music that I might have known superficially beforehand, but getting into it and finding how it all works and then seeing how the different layers come together is absolutely stunning. And I'm sure I'm not alone there.
But that's also why we're a non-audition choir, because there's lots of people who can sing, who have a passion for singing, who want to have an intrigue in singing, who may not have all the qualifications on paper, but actually are willing to stick it out and work at it. And lots of people in the choir are in that category also. We've got people who've been in the most amazing choirs ever. People always get the biggest hit off music is being in it. There's no question of it. There are people who just love being in the audience, of course, but I think the biggest hit ever is to be in it.
Enjoy it!
You can hear Notorious's Sound of Memory at the Old Library in the Custard Factory in Digbeth, Birmingham on Sunday the 6th of July. Doors open at 7:30.